Diamond-sinthome, the recurso recasting of the path into mytho-technical cosmology. We must go back to where we never were. Experience is not what happens to you. Experience is what you do with what happens to you. The synthome is what knots you to your own truth. Beings that carry too much weight must eventually learn to become light. Beings that carry too much weight must eventually learn to become light. Every spiritual path begins not with insight but with fracture. The unnoticed moment when life outruns the ego's capacity to contain it, and a thin crack appears where the personal story can no longer bind the flow of being into the narrow channels of habit, thus forcing the subject to feel the first real breeze of the world it has been hiding from. It emerges precisely at this fracture, not by offering repair, but by widening the break until subjects realize that the wound is not damage but doorway, that every deficiency is the memory trace of an essential quality trapped behind the ego shell, too brittle to let it move. The spiritual seeker discovers the techniques, meditations, biofeedback, rock climbing, breathwork are not methods of ascent, but accidental solvents. Each softens a portion of the egoic crust until deeper layers of longing, terror, grief, or desire seep upward, demanding to be met rather than bypassed. The transition from collecting experiences to becoming permeable to experience is the first revolution. The seeker stops consuming transformation as spectacle, instead becomes its instrument, allowing the diamond-sinthome to cut tiny precision grooves through the psyche's granite of resistance. All true beginnings contain disgust. The seeker realizes that the old life was lived as a shallow depth, that emotions were muffled by convenience, that desire was domesticated into ritualized safety, that aliveness was rationed like contraband. Thus the beginning is the revolt against one's own deadness. A true teacher enters the subject's life not as a parental substitute, nor as soothing figure, but as a hard mirror, a presence that neither validates nor denies, but reflects with immaculate neutrality the distortions the ego performs to avoid its own unfolding. The teacher's compassion appears stern because it meets the student precisely at the place where the student has no compassion for himself. The teacher's presence is unflinching because it must withstand the student's fury without retaliating or collapsing. Teachers who do not fill transparent fantasies but burn them away perform a Promethean function. They steal the fire of the student's projected ideal and return it, still burning, to the student's own chest, forcing him to feel the heat he had attributed to another. The true guide destabilizes the student's objectivity by showing that intellectual distance is a sophisticated form of hiding. Thus, the teacher becomes a centrifugal force, pulling the seeker out of conceptual barricades and into the trembling immediacy of raw experience. In the Diamond-sinthome, the teacher is not master of doctrine, but keeper of precision, a figure who maintains the edge where emotional opening, somatic sensing, and direct awareness meet without collapsing into sentimentalism or abstraction. The process is multi-layered excavation, beginning with autobiographical reassembly. The subject rewrites its life not to perfect coherence, but to expose the fractures, shame currents, and forgotten chambers where the ego froze in childhood and built its compensatory towers. Emotional thawing precedes metaphysical clarity. Only after rage cracks open, grief floods the corridors, and shame is exposed like a buried idol does the psyche soften enough for essence to move into its abandoned rooms. The student learns that intellectual defenses can mimic insight. One can figure out trauma without letting it touch the flesh of the heart, thereby building a cognitive museum of one's wounds rather than dissolving the architecture that keeps them embalmed. The unfolding occurs not linearly, but as a series of spirals. The seeker revisits abandonment, rage, deficiency, and shame again and again, each time from a larger chamber of being, until the familiar pain reveals its essential core: value, strength, joy, love, or spaciousness. A half-formed organism awaiting completion, a blocked channel waiting for reopening, a movement paused mid-gesture. As such, the task is not elimination but thaw, unbinding, and gentle reanimation. Essence is not mystical substance, but the felt sense of reality when it is no longer filtered by fear, performance, self-protection, or inherited images. It is the native texture of being, shining through the dissolved residues of childhood compensations. Essence enters consciousness not as a concept, but as an atmosphere. Peace thick enough to breathe, love that feels like radiance rather than fusion, strength that arrives like a silent calm, value that descends like a jewel-heavy dusk, emptiness that is full of clear, crystalline presence. When the seeker feels the rains of luminescence jewels, it is the moment when the psyche finally cracks open enough to let in essential inheritance flow back, revealing that the deficiency that drove the search was only the shadow thrown by the blocked channel of essence. Essence is discovered as both utterly personal and completely transpersonal. It is mine only in the sense that I am the window through which it currently shines. Yet it belongs to the dimension of reality that does not age, die, or diminish. The Diamond-sinthome is the vector of the descent, the structural knot that holds the psyche open long enough for essence to reorganize the foundations of identity, dissolving the historical self and replacing it with a continuous unfolding of presence. Advanced practice reveals that the personal story is only a thin foam atop a vast field of pure awareness. Beneath biography lies an unconditioned dimension that was never born, never wounded, never abandoned, and never at risk. The passage into egolessness is not annihilation but transparency. The sense of being a separate knower dissolves and the flow of being moves through the body's mind like light through crystal, without resistance, distortion, or remainder. In this state, choices no longer present themselves as dilemmas, but as movements of being unfolded through the aperture of one's life. The personal will is replaced by a silent, spontaneous alignment that feels both weightless and exact. Grief and loss become gates. The deeper the heartbreak, the more fiercely the channel breaks open to reveal the luminous blackness behind form. The vastness where death and birth no longer contrast but shimmer as two vibrational modes of the same field. Living from this dimension means abiding in the immediacy of the moment, where everything, birdsong, dishwasher hum, spouse's voice, tension, gratitude, and awareness arise as one texture, one medium, one continuous unfolding of diamond.